So I went and played rugby league. And then the first game, I was given number 14. I was like, where's number 14 play? And they said, oh, it's only 13 aside in rugby league. So... Welcome back to the Sports Dentistry Podcast. The last time we chatted, Umar, we were building up to our big day in Manchester, and we got that over a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it's taken us a couple of weeks just to detox from that with respect to the big build-up, and then the day just goes in a flash, and then before you know it, you wake up on the Saturday morning, like, what just happened? You know, because you put so many hours into it, into the day, and lots of things behind the scenes that I'm sure we'll get into, and then it just goes before your eyes. But I did spend quite a bit of time just taking a step back and just looking around the room and thinking, you know, we've pulled it off. It's been really, really good. And that was maybe at the dinner, the point of the dinner when I just kind of took a step back in the room and was like, sponsors, delegates, speakers, location, venue, sun was shining. Couldn't have been any better, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a great day. It was a great one to build on with Edinburgh. I thought Edinburgh was very good, but you always get a little bit of a boost with the first one. And that was always sort of the little bit of anxiety about doing it again. And I think that's why I've kind of focused on this concept initially. And I've spoke about it before in the pod about it's fantastic when we launch something that, yes, we'd be able to do a 2-3 day conference, no problem. But how do we then repeat that in 12 months and consistently keep it coming? Especially with a topic like sports dentistry, when there maybe isn't a whole lot of new research and stuff coming out to fulfill a 2-3 day conference. So that was always the anxiety about this second conference. Like, are people going to come back? Are we going to be able to build on it? But the day went really, really well. The location was fantastic. I think the venue worked out really well. Our committee member, Rhea, has to be thanked for that. She was our person on the ground in Manchester and was able to source that. And then working it out to the cricket, where England put up a record score and got over the line.
Well, that's right, mate. World record cricket. They save it for the best. They save it for when the UK Sports Dentistry Conference was there. But look, I think if we take it back to the night before when we were meant to be having our committee meeting on the Thursday evening, and most of us would be there, you then text to say, my flight is delayed. My flight is delayed. My flight is delayed. So we're just sitting there twiddling our thumbs, waiting for you to arrive. Some of the members of the committee have gone to bed. You've still not arrived. But I'm a good mate, so I stayed up for you, waited for you. And you arrived, all guns blazing, had a good catch up the night before. And there was quite a few of the delegates there as well, which was great. So we had a good chit chat the night before. And then obviously we had the meeting on the Friday morning, which was good to kick things off and just to see everybody in person after so many hours of Zoom meetings. And then just, you know, getting the sponsors in and introducing ourselves to all them and for their support they did. And a, you know, big shout out to the main sponsors. So to Boutique, Whitening, so Prem, Julian, Stephen, and then you had Smell Fast, you had Chris from XS Dental Labs, you had Lauren from Phillips, also Clyde Monroe. You know, they've got massive hats off to them for putting on some great stands, and like you said, Rhea, for sorting the venue. I think having somebody on the ground there was a massive benefit. She was able to go and have a look at the venue and see where it was. It was so easy to get to. It was literally a 10-minute walk to the train station, 20 minutes to the airport. Really couldn't have been any better. To throw spanners in the work, though, we have to discuss this because we obviously had our speakers all lined up. Everything was all good to go. And then I'm on the way down on the train on the Thursday. You're messaging me saying, we have a big problem. Tell the listeners what was going on.
It was all the Irish connections was the problem. First of all, it was Ryanair on their flight, which said delayed half an hour and then delayed an hour and ended up being 3 hours late. So that was, thank you, Michael O'Leary, and a very efficient way of keeping people posted for delayed flights. And then David Dunn, who would be an Irish colleague, but he is a sports nutritionist and did a PhD in looking at carbohydrate use and timings and stuff of it. And he's developed he's developed an app, him and a few other sports nutritionists called Haxis, which allows sports nutritionists to help athletes, and also athletes can use it directly themselves. Look at planning, not so much just the amount that they're having per day, but their actual timings. So timings of the carbs to compare to training and stuff. So he's highly sought after. So it was really good for David to agree to do it. I see at the moment there a lot of the Premier League soccer teams have signed up with Haxis for the new season. And then he got a call in. He's been working with his brother's actually a professional golfer, so he's done a lot of work with golfers over the years as well. And he's been working with the Ryder Cup teams, the European Ryder Cup teams for the last few. And he got a call to say that he needed to be on a private jet with the Ryder Cup team to go out and help them with their preparations for this weekend. So he just logistically couldn't get himself to Manchester and get him back with his commitments to the Ryder Cup. But what he did do was he recorded a presentation for us. So we were able to play it, and then he jumped on Zoom so we could do a Q&A with him. And from the feedback, it was actually the most liked lecture. So it worked out in the end. That's the main thing. But pivoted, you got a challenge. You just have to find a solution. Worked out well.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think you've got to take a lot of credit for that, because your improvisation when it came to the question and answer session, having on the Zoom and then putting the mic next to your phone so everybody can hear what it was that he was saying.
But it was my own fault, because I was meant to put Zoom on my laptop, but I've just recently changed my password because my Zoom will be through my UCL login, because then I've more than 40 minutes because I get it as part of that. But then I recently just changed my password, and I couldn't remember what I passed it to. So I didn't have the Zoom set up on the laptop. So I was like, I know I have it set up on my phone already. So that's why I just jumped it on the phone. So you do all this planning, but a lot, I find these days, and that'll be the fourth conference in 4 years that I've sort of hosted in the UK. The AV is such a big aspect of that. I'm planning the AV, and even at the start of the day, my eyes are opened. So usually the issue when you're trying to get speakers' presentations up is whether they have it on a PowerPoint, or whether they're all fancy with an Apple Mac and they're doing it on Keynote. But the whole landscape's changed. It is developing way too much for me. So we have two speakers, our colleagues Imogen and Annie, and one had used Canva to do their presentation, and one had used Adobe, and they had them available on the cloud. So it was a new challenge to go overcome all these different types of presentation formats. So, but I find that's one of the trickiest things on the day is the AV and getting the AV right. And when you look at some of the bigger conferences, I know when we went and presented at the IOC medical conference in Monaco last year, they actually have a room full of people organising the AV for the presentations and stuff, and you have to go in and get your presentation uploaded and go through it, do a trial run with it in their room, so they'll be able to have it on the screens. It's a big part of the conference part that you don't actually see, you don't notice, but you'll notice it when it goes wrong.
Exactly. But that's the important thing, though, because I think people are there to listen to lectures, and the speakers have spent a lot of time trying to get it organized and get it ready and to showcase their skills and their knowledge. And you want it to run smoothly. If there's connections to the Wi-Fi, or if there's how you want to interact. Some presentations you have interactions where you can choose A, B, C, D, or there's like a poll or something like that as well. Yeah. So I think other than that slight hiccup with David, who still managed to provide an excellent presentation. So thanks to David. And all the presentations actually were fantastic. And, I've got a lot of time for Julie. I spent a lot of time with Julie on the Thursday evening, and she's absolutely hilarious. But, her presentation skills and her knowledge are second to none, as were all the presentations, to be honest with you. But I think the day ran well. I think the topics were on point. I think they all spoke well. And it was great to see so many females on the stage, actually.
Yeah. All the in-person speakers were females. So
that's true, yeah.
That was good. Yeah. the only non-female speaker couldn't even get himself to Manchester. So I don't know I don't know what that says about us.
Yeah. I think it was
But
everybody sitting down in the dinner and having a good chat, and we managed to get around the tables and introduce ourselves. And sometimes it's quite hard to say hi to everybody, but I think we managed between the committee made a good effort to get around and see everybody and say hi. And the food was fantastic as well, and it was great. And getting everybody to Old Trafford was a wee bit of a juggle because you had all the tickets, so trying to get the tickets distributed.
we got the tickets. It's just, I was one of them people. If you haven't been to Manchester, it's like being to any city that you haven't really been. Even though the tram was like one block over, if you haven't been and haven't used the tram, it does take a wee bit of help to get people there. So it's like any city. Like unless you've used it a few times, it's not familiar. And I think that was always the tricky bit with having the venue, hotel, not walking distance to where the sporting ground, but we did look into having the venue conference hotel actually in Old Trafford, which would have been amazing. But with it being an international fixture, it just wasn't possible. If it had been one of the county, the home team fixtures, it would have been a bit more possible. But with being an international, and they only get so many a year, it's a much bigger event, and security's a lot bigger, and they have a whole hospitality section that they use, I'm sure, to bring in a good bit of fundraising for the big internationals that we just wouldn't have the size to be able to outbid them to take over the conference. So it was always going to be a challenge, but it worked out really well. And the tram's really easy, just getting people in and off the tram. We were all back in the city centre for a pretty good time after the cricket finished, so that was good. The bit that I really like about our conferences that we have had, they're a little bit different than others' conferences. Some of the other conferences being there's the athlete's voice section. I find that fantastic. We had a great setup in Edinburgh. Actually, the last two in Edinburgh were really good. The last European Association for Sports Dentistry, we had a couple of the rugby players come in after the rugby match and do a bit of a Q&A. We had an ex-player do a wee bit of analysis of the match beforehand. Always gives you a good insight. With Thomas Appleton, who's the dentist and the captain of the Portugal rugby team, he did a presentation. And I think Shu did, one of the South Africans stroke Scottish players. He did the athlete's voice that time. They did the athlete's voice that time for the European Association of Sports Dentistry.
It wasn't Shu. It was Louis. Yeah, it was Louis. But yeah, I think touching on that was a big part of the day because that gave people an opportunity, hadn't been to our conference before, just to see why it's different. And the unique selling point that we have is that we were able to get somebody of the caliber of Elizabeth, who was also in England rugby internationalist, but also a dentist who has taken a break from dentistry to do it. And I thought she spoke unbelievably well and resonated really closely to me as a parent and having a daughter, and just how she came across on stage and how confident she was and how she just loved what she was doing. And she talked about how rugby specifically as a sport is very inclusive to all shapes and sizes, and they fight together as a team. And it struck a chord with me because my daughter, who's now 6, started to have a few more emotions and started to be a bit more girly and about her appearance and what she says and what she doesn't say and what she does. And I can really see that, and it did ring true. And I did ask her that question. When you watch the girls play on the international stage, especially rugby, they're all just smiling all the time. And it's something when you're sitting pitchside and you're just seeing them, even in a loss. Actually, the game I'm referring to is Scotland-Ireland, when Ireland lost, actually. Okay, just to make that very, very clear.
Okay, this is the
Six Nations last year.
Okay.
It was an incredible game, but everybody, both teams smiling, laughing, hugging each other. And that's what it's all about. And it's to be able to hear that firsthand from an athlete like Elizabeth and how she came across. And I know there was a lot of great feedback from the post-conference feedback forums about her and about how she came across, and you hosting that session obviously was very, very well with your witty humour.
So you tried that. Do you know the return this year? Where the Six Nations go home and away and then they swap it over? This year, that Scotland-Ireland game is going to be in the Viva, which will be the first time the Irish women's Six Nations match will be held in the Viva.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So that just shows you how women's rugby is really developing in the World Cup. So that's World Cup's on at the moment. The final's on this weekend. We've got Canada versus England in the final. So it was really good then to have Elizabeth there talking about that, especially because it's really interesting to hear as well how she was on the England squad a couple of years ago and she just didn't make it for this World Cup, and just understanding them emotions of missing out, and then how she found it very difficult to watch them play because of that. So I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and I think that's, if anybody that's listening to this that does run their own conference, I think that's a fantastic aspect to it, because it's okay us all sitting talking about we should be doing this for our athletes, we should be doing that for the athletes, but really it's really important to get the athlete's viewpoint and get it from them. So if you're able to get athletes either that have had an experience with sports dentistry, or like in this case we've got Elizabeth, who is a dentist but has put that on hold to be a professional rugby player, and to give aspects of that, and even just the chats about how she's like her mate's dental advisor now, because they all ask her dental questions, and to get a bit of an insight of what sort of issues her playing group would see from a dental perspective, gives you a really good insight as well for athletes of that age and for that sport and things like that. So it is, I think that's one of the best sections that we have been able to introduce as part of our conference.
Definitely. And I think if you look at all the conferences that we've had, including the European one and then the first UK and second way, the standard of athletes has been, top notch. It's been the best of the best in their categories. And it's been really fun to get to know them and to hear their stories. And I think a lot of people in the audience, a lot of the delegates do find that quite remarkable in terms of how we're able to actually attract these individuals. And a lot of it's to do with asking the right questions as well, and them being able to be themselves around us, and them to stay for the dinner and they can interact with the delegates. That's also so important. And we've had that on each occasion, which has been great. And we'll hopefully build on that. We'll hopefully expand our repertoire in terms of what sort of athletes we're getting on and what sports they play, depending on what sport we're going to be going into next year. But I think the cricket to finish off the day was absolutely fantastic, and the weather played its part. We were worried about rain in Manchester, but it was a beautiful, beautiful evening. And as always, you were underdressed.
I was underdressed, yes. I suffered, ended up with a bit of a head cold. Took me almost a week to get over it, but that's my own doing. That's my own.
I just saw it. I said, he's going out in a t-shirt. Yes, you've got your Sports Dentistry Podcast merch gilet on.
Oh, we had the merch. We got the merch out. Yes, we had the merch on.
But it was never going to be warm enough for you, though. But I think the whole night was great. I think everybody enjoyed themselves, especially with it being a day-night T20, the stadium in the sunshine during the day and then the floodlights being on at night. Everybody was just in fantastic form. Every single delegate that I spoke to, and the committee members and anybody else who was there, just had such a great ball.
Yeah, it was great. I think that worked really well, having everything in the one day, which now that we're starting to think about the next one, it's really difficult to do. It's because a lot of sports played on an afternoon on a Saturday, so that makes it a little bit difficult to be able to run a conference and a conference dinner before it. So we may have to get the thinking hats out for it. Maybe look at a late Saturday evening game if we can't get something on a Friday evening that works. But I felt when we compared the two, Edinburgh was absolutely fantastic, and with about almost 100 people in the room. But we had a big drop off then for ones able to stay for the rugby the next day, even though the rugby was on early. Possibly because the matchup wasn't fantastic. If the All Blacks were in town, I'd say maybe a lot more people would have stayed. But
definitely.
But then for this one, because it was all in one day, it was just like one day, and I think over 90% of the people that went to the conference ended up going to the cricket, and just made for one great day where you had the educational piece, and then you had the dinner, and then you had our number one bit, which is the networking, as we went to the sport, and and everybody enjoyed themselves. So it was good.
Yeah,
It was good. Got excited. Got a lot of people excited. Got a lot of ideas going. So we're looking to see what we can come up with for next year.
we are delighted to have INAUGURAL as a sponsor for the Sports Dentistry Podcast. Are you looking for a water bottle that's built to keep up with your active lifestyle? Look no further than INAUGURAL, the totally leak-proof water bottles with triple lock technology to prevent spills no matter where you're headed. With a simple one-touch opening mechanism, you can sip on the go without hassle. Plus, INAUGURAL's sleek, modern designs are not only functional but can be personalized just for you. Made from high-quality steel, these bottles are easy to clean and, best of all, they're sustainable. From 320ml to 1200ml, INAUGURAL has the perfect size for you, whether you're just out for a jog or going on a long hike. And it doesn't stop at water bottles. INAUGURAL also has travel mugs and flasks to keep your drinks just right wherever you are. INAUGURAL is the official water bottle supplier to the British and Irish Lions on their tour to Australia this summer, and are the official water bottle supplier to the NFL, so you know you're getting the best. I have been using their bottles for a long time now and cannot recommend them highly enough. So head over to www.ionate.co.uk to get your hands on the best bottles in the business, bar none. Now back to the pod. Yeah, we're still open to suggestions for next year. You know, we are having a discussion about what options there are. So people listening to this, local and international, who think what time of year should we host it? What sort of event should we look at? We're still open to suggestions. So yeah, hopefully certainly by the end of this year, we'll have a good idea of where we're going to be, what we're going to be doing, how it's going to look, and we'll hope to build on the momentum that we've got after this second one that we've just had. But yeah, I can't believe it's been and gone.
Yeah, it's mad how quickly the year goes. Yeah, we're almost 2 years in. Busy couple of weeks with sports dentistry. We had a couple of days CPD down UCL last week. And then now it's all sort of gearing up towards Dusseldorf, which is the end of the year celebration we've been talking about all year. But there's been tangent. No, I'm not looking for what do you call it when it's a screwball, is it? Fastball, it's not fastball. Whenever there's like a curveball. We've been throwing a curveball. We've been talking, that's the word I was looking for, a curveball. We are talking all year about Dusseldorf being the end of the year sports dentistry celebration. But somebody had a different idea and have organised a conference 2 weeks afterwards, which we're helping get going, and it's starting to come together and be really exciting.
It kind of all came about because one of the guys who came to the conference last year in Edinburgh was so taken aback of how well it was run, how good it was, and he wanted to take it back to the Rainbow Nation, South Africa, our good friend Babik, and his brother Janesh, who's the medic to the Springbok Sevens, and there was some whispers about them trying to sort something out with South Africa, and they very kindly asked us to get involved with your experience of the ones that you've done in the past and then what I've done as well, and just kind of becoming friends. And the momentum was building. There was a lot of toing and froing, a lot of WhatsApp chat, and then things kind of just snowballed. And before you know it, we kind of had a date, we had a venue, we had a sporting event. I suppose the sporting event was the main one, Cape Town Sevens, with it being the first weekend of December. As the winter starts to set in the UK, the sun's starting to come out in South Africa and it's coming into their summer. But what better place to go than Stellenbosch in Cape Town in December? I know you've not been, have you, John?
I have not been. I like the venue is the high performance area for the Springbok, which is really exciting to know. As we know, the Springbok are the number one rugby team in the world and have been over the last 2 World Cups. So to be able to get there and have a look at their setup and get to network with a lot of the medical personnel that's supporting them. And also we've talked about all year a lot about the IMGs. A lot of the good work for World Rugby is coming out of South Africa too, with Ross Tucker down there that does the sports science, that very kindly did a presentation for us for the last European Association of Sports Dentistry before the rule came in. And also Lindsay Starling, who is now based in Bath, who heads it up, but she's originally South African as well. So there's a lot of work been going on down there, maybe indirectly for sports dentistry. So it's really nice that we're able to help Vivek launch the South African Sports Dentistry Association with this conference in December at the home of the Springbok, and then at the Sevens. Nice fast-paced rugby. So what else would you need after being a little bit cold? We may still be a little bit cold in Dusseldorf. So
yeah. What you're also forgetting there is the world famous Stellenbosch region. What is it famous for?
I hear it's famous for wine, but I wouldn't really be a wine connoisseur. Now I've got a little bit more into it. Now I understand there's two things you look at from an amateur point of view. That's what I look at. You look at the grape and you look at the label. So before I wouldn't have known that. I didn't know all these different things. Well, was there a Malbec or a Merlot or a Sauvignon or a...
Well, it's a opportunity to learn more, though.
I didn't know that was the grape. So you learn something new every day. So as I've got a little bit older, I've learned a little bit more and more about it. So looking forward to this. That's where the conference dinner is, down in Stellenbosch at one of their wineries. So like it just, I'm almost a little bit jealous because it's starting to make our conference in Manchester sound a little bit wet and cold and dull, doesn't it? We're going to go to the home of the Springboks, and then we're going to go to a winery for our conference dinner, and then we're going to spend the next day at a rugby sevens tournament. So
yeah,
it all sounds fantastic. It's really starting to come together, and tickets are going to be out next week. The tickets are limited as well, so if anybody's looking to go, get on it. And we've limited venue space for the winery and for the conference as well. And I think it's going to be really, really high demand whenever it gets released next week.
Why not ask the taxman to pay for a little CPD trip to South Africa at the start of December, 2 weeks after Dusseldorf? So people who are going to Dusseldorf might as well just hang about for a couple of extra weeks and head down to South Africa before you head home.
Yeah, that should be good. I still haven't got the brownie points to go, but we'll worry about that close to the
time. Yeah, she'll hear about it on the podcast. She'll be like, "What is this? You're going to where?"
Yeah. No, it'll be one of them. I'm away. I'll be back on Sunday. What about Wednesday?
Well, we know she won't be able to reach you because nobody can. So
yeah. We've got Dusseldorf's coming around the corner as well, and now we've stuttered a wee bit over the last couple of months with the pod. Now we'll probably get back. Now we've got the conference stuff over us. We'll get back into regular weekly ones. The conferences and holidays and stuff sort of threw a few obstacles in the way. Probably from around the end of June when I went to Washington to now, we haven't really been as consistent as we were before that. But we'll be getting that back, and especially because building up to Dusseldorf, we did promise to do a live podcast from the European Association for Sports Dentistry conference in Dusseldorf.
We can't fall flat on our faces, so we're going to have to do it. So we will be building quite a bit of momentum coming into Dusseldorf. We do have a good list of guests, a good variety of guests to get on. So hopefully we'll be able to get more pods out up until November the 21st, I think it is, Dusseldorf.
Yeah, the 22nd's in my head, but I think that's the Saturday, isn't it? It's the 20th and 22nd, I think.
Yeah.
So you've got the pre-course, on the Thursday. So the pre-one-day course on the Thursday, the soffit course, and then you've got the 2-day conference on the Friday and the Saturday. So we'll probably look at doing the live pod maybe Saturday afternoon, I think.
Let's just get there first and then we'll figure it out. But we need to have the equipment. We've got the merch. We need just to make sure equipment's in order. But yeah, we're going to set ourselves that target now that the Manchester's out the way and Dusseldorf is the next big one where we know there's going to be a lot of big hitters from all over the world going to that. So I think that should be a fantastic event and very much looking forward to getting there. But yeah, that was a good recap of the second UK Sports Dentistry Conference and then what's coming up. But we do hope that our listeners stay tuned, and if they have any questions they want to ask us, please let us know. We will be still continuing to provide the links for tickets for Dusseldorf and to South Africa. So stay tuned, really.
Hey there, Sports Dentistry fam. We've got big news. If you love sport, teeth, and travel, you're going to want to listen up.
That's right. The very first South African Sports Dentistry Association Conference is happening this year, and you're invited.
Join us in Stellenbosch on Friday the 5th of December 2025 for a day of exciting lectures, expert panels and vibrant networking with sports dentists from across the globe.
Then, stick around for a stunning conference dinner under the stars, Stellenbosch style, at the famous Byerskloof Winery. And on Saturday the 6th of December, we head to the world-famous Cape Town Sevens rugby at the DHL Stadium, sitting at the foot of Table Mountain for an epic day of sport, sun and celebration.
It's the perfect blend of education, networking and unforgettable South African energy, all in one weekend.
So, whether you're chasing CPD or chasing Sevens tickets, this is your chance to be part of something truly special.
Come join us in the Rainbow Nation. Tickets are limited. Grab yours now via the link in the description.
The inaugural South African Sports Dentistry Association Conference, December the 5th and 6th, 2025, Stellenbosch and Cape Town. We'll see you there.
Yep, and it's big weekend ahead. We've got a big weekend ahead over here. The Steelers are in town. Steelers are in town.
You said you were going to that, right?
Yes, going to Sunday is the match. Taking over, because it's their home game, they've kind of took over. The tailgate opens up tomorrow. They've got their pubs all decked out in Steelers gear. The Vikings are over and they've got their own pub as well. So it's going to be building up nicely from tomorrow. I think a lot of the teams and stuff arrived in today to prepare up for the match. So I've seen pictures of Croke Park there earlier where they've transformed it into American football pitch and it's starting to look pretty good. So looking forward to that on Sunday. Although they're not playing fantastic. So that's a little bit concerning.
What time is the game on Sunday?
It's about 2:30. So that's the good thing now. If you are an American football fan, that's the good thing about having the London games and the Dublin game is that it's just all day. So it'll start usually it starts the early kickoffs will be at 6 p.m. UK time. And then your later kickoffs just after 9 o'clock. And then you have a late one just after about 1 o'clock. But now you've almost 4 games in a row because you've got the 2:30 kickoffs, either Dublin this week and I think the London games then kick in next week because the Vikings are hanging around for that as well. So if you're into your American football, the next few weeks is going to be Sunday fever. You have plenty of options.
Well, that's good. That's exciting. But on top of that is also the Women's Rugby World Cup final, and it's the Ryder Cup, Men's Ryder Cup, shall I say, in Bethpage in New York. So there's a lot happening.
And the URC kicks off tomorrow as well. That's
right.
We are introducing field of play sports dentistry support in Ulster Rugby starting from tomorrow night.
Are you going to that then? Are you going to be the man?
Going to that. There's a group. We've put together a team of 3 of us. So myself and Claire and Suzanne, who I haven't really met in person yet, I don't think. So we're meeting together tomorrow before the match, meeting up with the medical team, starting to feel our way into it, and we're going from there. So that's really developed a lot from the great work that you guys done of Scotland, because Meg Webb, who's the Chief Medical Officer, sings Fiona Davison's praises of his experience from the support that they get whenever they go over to Edinburgh.
It's about time you guys caught up.
They always said the Irish are a wee bit behind. Do you know what I
mean? a wee bit behind. You're talking 18 years behind.
So I went to VT to tell you the story about being behind. So I went to did my VT in Cumbria, and apparently Cumbria is a little bit behind the rest of England. And so I fitted in quite well, obviously since we're behind as well. But I started to play rugby league. It's the first time I played rugby league. The town I was in had 2 teams, at rugby league and rugby union. And I was asking about, and I hadn't played rugby before this. So I would have played the Irish sports before this. And they were saying the rugby league team was short of players. So I was like, well, I would go play for them, and I'll go and get a game instead of playing rugby union. So I went and played rugby league. And then the first game, I was given number 14. I was like, where's number 14 play? And they said, oh, it's only 13 aside in rugby league. So, but But then I did start getting on the start team. But I remember in training one night, there's a guy, I remember it like it was yesterday, Alan Douglas. He was a great rugby league player. He was one of our better players. And we're sitting training and we're going through a few drills, and he turns to me and he goes, "Do you all live in caravans in Ireland?" And I thought it was a bit of banter, a bit of sledging, a bit of crack. And I started laughing. But he was deadly serious. Like, he was deadly serious. And I was like, "What do you mean?" So this guy, he was from Cumbria, never left Cumbria, was from Cumbria. And he had watched Snatch. You know,
All
Snatch, the
right.
movie.
Yeah.
And he thought from Snatch that everybody in Ireland lived in caravans. He was deadly serious. I was like, no, I do have a few brick houses about, like. So that sort of cemented in that Cumbria maybe are a little bit behind. So
That is good.
that's maybe why he fitted in so well there. Uh,
Did you get on then? Did you manage to get on?
did get on playing, and then I played Summer League, and we got to the All Britain semi final. But then it was probably my fault we lost that. We went down to play Coventry Bears, and they played. Now I was only ever playing on the wing, and then they played me in centre, and I was all over the place because I'd never played it before. So my lineup was wrong defensively, and I think they were able to run through a few tries to beat us. So it was probably on me. I blamed the coach for playing me out of position. Everybody else blamed me, but no, it was a good experience. And then, like, whenever I went to talked about this before, I went over to live in Queensland. It's so big over there. So when I was working out in the mining towns, I was able to go over and play a bit of rugby league for the wee town I was in, Mount Isa, and also played then over for Dysart as well whenever I was over that direction as well. And it's a great sport when you're into it. It's mad to think when you look at different sports, as the way I was slagging you about cricket, like there's so much that goes on within the sport that if you don't realise until you actually get involved. So I had a really good time playing rugby league.
Yeah, I mean, the Rugby League World Cup is in Australia and Papua New Guinea, I think, next year.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
Papua New Guinea, Papua New Guinea, it's right beside Australia. So it's just not that far off the top
Well,
of
you say,
Australia, Queensland.
yeah, you say right beside, but it's probably still a 6-hour flight.
Yeah, but that's right beside compared to here.
That's true. That's true.
Sure, Perth to Sydney's a 5-hour flight.
Yeah. So look, there's lots of really cool, interesting, exciting things coming up. So, and I'm sure we'll be covering quite a lot of it on this podcast. There is some more big news to come out on this podcast in the coming months as well, which we can't talk too much about at the minute. But you know, there's lots of good, exciting things happening, and I look forward to sharing many more conversations with you, my friend. Certainly in the lead up to Dusseldorf, will we reconvene in person?
Yes, definitely. Dusseldorf's going to be good, and it's almost a who's who of sports dentistry will be there. So if you're in two minds on whether to sign up or not, get signed up and get there. It's great. It's a lot. It's where the European Association of Sports Dentistry has definitely been one of the best networking conferences for people outside your own country. So if you want to expand your sports dentistry network internationally, then you've got almost a representative from everywhere that goes to the European Association of Sports Dentistry, which is a credit to where Thanos and Sophie have brought it from their first idea.
100%, and I don't think there's much more to say on that apart from just get yourself there.
Get there. So great to catch up with you more.
Yeah, buddy. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. I want to get back into the role of these weekly prods starting for next week. I know we've said this a couple of times, but it's definitely we've no excuse now that we've got the Manchester Conference overs.
Yeah, that's it. No, we'll get into a bit of a rhythm, a bit of a flow, and we'll just start getting the exciting guests back on.
Sounds like a plan. Until the next time.
Good man. Speak to you soon.
Chat to you soon.